You know, it has been ratcheted up a notch overnight. These new tariffs going to come into effect on September 24 and another $200 billion worth of Chinese goods. There's a lot of unknowns in this environment. How are you placed and how are you, I guess, making business decisions amongst all this escalation of the trade dispute?
Yes, well, good morning. I was over the last 2 days, I was in Beijing, so I managed to, to talk to a lot of people. I'm less concerned about the direct impact of the recent announcement. The announcement a few hours ago. It's more the impact on sentiment, the impact on investor confidence of CFOs, CEOs that need to take. And so the second derivative is going to probably what we have to track a bit more closely. And right now, in this event where we have like over 100, CFO treasurers trying to gauge, what's happening, it's important. So, there are clear, paths that we have to do in terms of like going through all this discussion. I don't think this is going to be resolved in the short term. There's no silver bullet. What needs to happen is, just make sure that we have a roadmap with certain specific milestones to be achieved and that both parties are very clear in terms of what they're trying to achieve, how they want to do it, and what happens if those milestones are not hit. What are the consequences?
And what are the consequences? Do you think China is running out of ammunition a little bit here because the US is very much putting the Chinese economy in a bit of a rock and a hard place?
I did not get the sense from all my conversations that there is a concern from at least from the Chinese side that this is going to have like a dramatic impact. Of course they want to find a way to resolve it. Of course they think that this, will have some consequences and they want to find a way. The important thing is recognizing that the relationship needs to be reset. There are very fair complaints from the U.S. side. At the same time, I think the U.S. side has to understand that it's a developing nation, and we're talking here the relationship of one superpower together with a very large developing nation. That relationship needs to be reset. How they do it is very important, and that's what they're focusing on, making sure that they do it in the best way over the next few months probably.
And amidst all of this, you're focusing, of course, on your business. So tell us about your China strategy, because you appointed Mark Leong, the co-head of your global equities team, to that China CEO role back in May. So you're very much pushing into China. How's the strategy going? What sort of headcount are you looking at?
That's right. Our focus is in the long term. So what we want to make sure that we do is we get our best people globally into China, that we invest. It's been reported and we've publicly announced that we made a filing to try to get our own securities firm in China. We want to own 100% of that entity. The government has announced that over a 3-year period they will allow for that to happen. So they will allow initially a company to have 51 and eventually 100%. So we're applying for that securities license. That's a very important part of developing our presence there. But we want to have every product that we offer globally, we want to offer it in China. We think that will be great for our global clients that want to do things in China, but also good for all the Chinese people that want to expand internationally, wants to deal, with countries around the world, or even, develop the local capital market infrastructure in a way that is beneficial for everyone.
So you applied for that back in May at that 51%. How far along is the process? You mentioned it there, 3 years. You think that that's a likely time frame?
I think within 3 years, it's very likely that we'll have, as long as the government, follows up on its commitment to do 100%. I'm comfortable to say that we'll be there.
Let's talk about JPMorgan Asia's contribution to global revenue, because Asia is certainly a very strong economy in terms of the overall region. Do you think that we could start to see Asia overtake, say, North America in the next 5-10 years?
No, not in the next 5 years, and especially given that we have a big consumer business in the U.S. So I do think that the proportion that Asia represents of the world will increase over time. But it'll be a very, very long time before it overtakes North America, so I probably won't be around.
What sort of growth targets do you have, though, for the next decade?
Well, it's very logical to think that a region that is growing at somewhere over 5%, the financial sector, it's easily can grow at, twice that rate. So having targets of growth which are double digits should be within everyone's, ambition. that, of course, assumes that at least we maintain the growth rate that we've seen in the past.